One of the two main topics of this year's GA2 committee of the DSTMUN conference is the use of tax havens by multinational corporations. Tax havens are offshore countries with very low taxation rates that offer financial secrecy for foreign investors and businesses.
Western nations block attempts to provide greater transparency of international financial flows and the implementation of global standards for the collection of tax across borders, whilst elites in developing nations use offshore centres to hide their wealth offshore.
Through the use of tax havens, companies can easily minimize their tax liability since tax havens offer very low tax rates. Financial secrecy is also guaranteed through various laws and administration practices that prevent scrutiny by tax authorities. The establishment of offshore companies is a process that has been simplified to the extent that the cost and time needed to set up such a company is trivial.
Have accounts in Panama or in Bermuda or in Cayman Islands.
Secrecy jurisdictions are heavily used for fraudulent and grey area financial activities, areas where secrecy is not just desirable, but a necessity. Legitimate financial activity has no need for the secrecy offshore havens provide, nor a desire to pay the high fees offshore banks and law firms charge. Today, close to half of the world's secrecy jurisdictions are British dependencies. In public, these jurisdictions claim they are transparent and their financial services sectors are engaged in legitimate financial.
The use of tax havens can cause severe damage to countries that are not tax havens since they suffer from serious loss of tax revenue. They are therefore usually deprived from the resources needed in order to invest in infrastructure or public services and to tackle income inequality. Around $240 billion are annually lost due to the use of tax havens and tax evasion.
Developing countries lose over $1 trillion every year in capital flight and tax evasion. Most of this wealth flows into large Western nations like the United States and Britain and enables their currencies to stay strong, whilst developing nations' currencies remain weak.
The use of tax havens, injustice and inequality between people of the same country and between countries as well is supported since wealthy individuals manage to avoid paying taxes while the unprivileged pay the price.
Illicit financial flows, because the anonymity that drives them creates incentives for people in positions of power to be corrupt. This is why there's a group of countries where development progress is so difficult. It's that the incentives of individuals and the ability to pursue them through all the mechanisms that underpin illicit flows outweigh the type of mechanisms that lead you to a powerful, representative, effective state.
This system ignites issues of corruption, accountability and governance and has many times led to scandals that have scarred the global economy, with the most significant being the Luxembourg leaks, the Swiss leaks, the Panama Papers and the Paradise Papers.
We know everything today because we have had the Panama Papers, we have seen it, and we are not able to act upon it. And we are not able to act upon it because this system is really protecting the few people that are having benefit from it. And these are in percentage very few people, but they are powerful. And I see in the Panama committee that I'm sitting in, the only thing that could change this is to have a public, accessible register of the beneficial ownership.
Through the past few years, numerous projects and initiatives have been introduced by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the European Union, the Group of 20 and by some countries individually. Some of the most important projects aiming at tackling the issue of the use of tax havens is the Common Reporting Standard, the Tax Information Exchange Agreements and the EU and OECD blacklists.